Hey, how's it going? Uh, Sitting out here, enjoying the beautiful weather out in Atlanta, Georgia. God has blessed us with a beautiful day down here, and He's also blessed us with this upcoming weekend. Well, by us, I mean college football fans. I mean, man, there are so many matchups this weekend that I'm looking forward to. That I honestly, I mean, I'm not going to be able to watch them all, and I'm not going to even try, but I'm definitely going to do my best to follow them. So, starting off, we have a great matchup, two great matchups this Thursday. First at 7 p.m., we have a very interesting game, SEC game. We have Auburn, who is right now struggling. I mean, they were expected to win the SEC West. Many people expected them to really dominate with Will Muschamp coming in as the defensive coordinator, and mixing that with Gus Malzahn's high-power offense, or what for the past 2 years has been a high-power offense, but it just has not come together. Um, they've been struggling. I mean, they're 0-2 in the SEC, and they have definitely not lived up to the expectations, and you could even wonder if Gus Malzahn's job may be in jeopardy if he doesn't turn it around. And this Thursday they're going to be going into Kentucky, who is really, I think they've really shred the image of being the easy victory. They're still not, by any stretch of imagination, a powerhouse or a very serious threat to win, but they're not the old Kentucky who will just kind of lay down, and they're not going. I don't think that they're that status anymore. They're trying to really build that program up. Mark Stoops, they recently renovated Commonwealth Stadium, $100 million renovation project. It was completed this year, and I think that it's going to be a very interesting matchup with Auburn struggling, maybe on the downfall, maybe on the decline, and Kentucky trying to really come up on the upswing. Last time these two teams played was in 2010, when, as you may know, Auburn had a quarterback named Cam Newton, who ended up winning the Heisman and subsequently leading them to the national championship that year. But Kentucky actually gave them quite a good game. They played on October 9th, 2010, and Auburn beat them, edged them out 37-34. So, I think from what I've read, Kentucky is quite a couple-point underdog. I think when I last saw the Vegas odds were like 5 or 6 points. I may be wrong on that, but I know that Auburn is rolling into this game as the favorite. But I don't know. I think that this is a really big game for Kentucky. I mean, it's a big game for both programs, but I think that Kentucky is going to really, as I said, I think that they've shed that image of being the automatic easy victory, and now you're going to have to earn the victory against them. And I think that even though Auburn is down this year, if they can beat them, they might begin to really even change the image of the program. They might be able to take what they've done so far a step further and establish themselves as, maybe even a regular contender in the SEC East. I mean, that remains to be seen. I mean, right now they're in second place in the SEC East behind Florida, who their sole loss was to. So, I mean, we'll see what happens this game. This game is a very important game, and for both programs, and I think Kentucky can do it. I mean, Auburn has really been struggling, and I think that Kentucky sees this opportunity as and they're really beginning to take their football more seriously in Lexington. So I think that I'm going to go with the upset here, and I'm going to predict that Auburn goes down in a close game, but I think that a very close, low-scoring game, but I think that Kentucky will pull it out. And after that, we have at 10:30, we have a great top 25 Pac-12 matchup between number 18 UCLA, who's 4-1 right now, going into Palo Alto to play Stanford, who's ranked at number 15. They're 4-1 right now. The Bruins are coming off of a 38-23 loss, home loss to Arizona State, while Stanford rolled against Arizona 55-17. I haven't seen a whole lot from either team this year. I saw a bit of the UCLA BYU game, and I caught a bit of the the end of the Arizona State game, and a little bit. I think they played UVA this. I know they played them last year, and I think they played them this year. I caught a fraction of it, not really enough to really have a really good gauge of what they're about. But I did see quite a bit of the Stanford USC game, and I've seen a couple. I've seen them here and there. I follow. A good friend of mine is a big Stanford fan. He's always kind of kept me up to date on what's going on over there. So I know a little bit more about Stanford than UCLA, but based on what I've seen with the game being in Palo Alto, Stanford is rolling. That loss to Northwestern, I didn't see any of it, but from what I understand, the offense got off to a slow start. Kevin Hogan, he's an experienced starter, but for whatever reason he struggled that first game. Northwestern is not exactly a pushover either, so that kind of probably factors into it quite a bit. But gut reaction. Even the biggest pundits are just kind of speculating and fabricating what's going to happen. So I'm going to do the same here, and my gut is telling me that with the home field advantage and the momentum going their way based on their 4-game winning streak, I think that Stanford is going to win. It should be a competitive contest. I don't think it'll come down to the last minute. I think Stanford will win by somewhere between 7 to 10 points. I think that they are going to. I think they're such a physical team, and they have a highly experienced leader at quarterback, and I think he's quite a bit underrated. He's not he's an effective game manager. He's not he may not really win you too many games. I think he gets a lot of flack because he had a tough act to follow. He really did, following Andrew Luck. The expectations that Luck set, and he had to follow that up on his own, and I think that really he gets a bad rap as not being as good. He's very underrated. I think that he deserves more credit than he gets, and I think that he will hope. I think he's going to try to earn some of that credit this week, this Thursday, and so I predict the Stanford win there at home in Palo Alto. So moving on to Saturday, we have, it's really insane how many there's always that besides rivalry week, there's always 1 week per year where just kind of all the stars align, and it's just kind of like one of those days where if you're a serious college football fan, you should consider just kind of trying to plan your weekend around that. Try to get everything you need to do done on Sunday, and just kind of find a nice spot on the couch, or maybe find a nice local watering hole, and just kind of sit down and grab a nice seat and just watch, because there are too many games. Like, I'm not going to even really be able to go over all of them. I'm going to just try to discuss the ones that are of particular interest to me. There's a couple games that I'm not going to even mention that on a normal week I would consider to be noteworthy, but because of the depth of the schedule this weekend, I'm going to just focus on a select few. And so we have a couple low-key matchups. They're not probably going to get all the hype, but I think that they're definitely going to be worth watching, without a doubt. First matchup here that I want to, that I think if you want to really tune in, is at 12 o'clock. We have number 13 Ole Miss playing at Memphis. Ole Miss is 5-1 with their sole loss, a 38-10 loss at the Swamp in Florida a few weeks ago, and Memphis with fourth-year coach Justin Fuentes is 5-0 right now. I've been keeping an eye on Memphis. I don't know, for some reason I've always been a fan of their football team, and Justin Fuentes is a name that has come up on several coaching searches last year because of what he's done at Memphis, and I think that's going to continue this year for sure. I mean, he's really done some outstanding things there. I don't really know. I don't think he'd be a candidate for the USC job, but I do think that he would probably, I think he would, I think an interesting place for him to possibly go next season would be, if Al Golden gets fired, would be, I think Miami would be probably, I think it would be interesting to see him there. I think he has I think he would do some interesting things there, but that remains to be seen. Who knows, maybe Al Golden turns it around and survives another year. Not looking too good for him right now, but, I take it week by week. But, so, a lot of people, after Ole Miss beat Alabama, thought, they became the front runner. I think a lot of the pundits put them, in one of the playoff positions. And then they went to Florida, and we got beat down pretty soundly on both sides of the ball. So now there's a little bit of skepticism. I mean, a lot of people looked back at the Alabama game and said, well, Alabama had 5 turnovers and Ole Miss still only won by 6 points. So if, Ole Miss, hadn't got those turnovers, it would have been a resounding Bama victory. Well, they had two marquee matchups thus far this season. One against Bama, they won. One against Florida, they lost. And it's really hard to determine at this point if they're the real deal. So I'm going to say that this weekend we're going to really find out what Ole Miss is made of. And who will win? I don't really, I don't have a strong feeling, but I think with the opportunity that Memphis has, and I think that Justin Fuentes is an excellent coach, the home field advantage, and the opportunity to really prove themselves. I think that Memphis will win a tight one. If Ole Miss comes out to play, I think if Ole Miss comes out to play and they really do what they need to do, they'll run away with it. But I have a feeling that Memphis is not going to make it easy for them. So. I think that with the home field advantage, I'm leaning towards Memphis. My gut is leaning towards Memphis for that one. So, at the same time, at 12 p.m., we also have another top 25 matchup, number 17, Iowa. Iowa is 6-0 right now. I mean, I remember, in the offseason, a lot of people were saying that Kirk Ferentz was on the hot seat. I mean, unless he loses, 6 straight for the rest of the year, 7 straight, I guess, because I guess they're bowl eligible at this point. But unless he loses out the entire rest of the season, or even just I mean, I at this point I don't really see him being on the hot seat anymore, no matter really what happens. Like I say, barring some sort of epic meltdown where they lose outright completely. So Iowa 6-0, ranked number 17, going into Evanston to play number 20 Northwestern, who just came back from a 38-0 drubbing at the hands of Jim Harbaugh in Michigan. I haven't really followed either team this year, but I think that Northwestern, coming off of that embarrassing performance, will have a lot to prove and at home. So I'm going to lean towards them because that's just based on what little I know about both teams. I think that Northwestern is going to want to show up, and I think that Fitzgerald is a very good coach. Top tier, maybe not. And definitely not at this point. He has the potential to become an elite coach, I think, but he needs to get this team ready this weekend. and get a big top 25 victory, to stay in the top 25, and also to help elevate his resume. So that'll be an interesting game. And another one, which has me really interested, will be also at 12 p.m. It's going to be Louisville, who's sitting at 2-3, and number 11 FSU. FSU just came off of a big victory over rival Miami. Louisville started off the year 0-3. They lost to Auburn by 7, lost to number 24 Houston, who's 5-0 right now, by 3, and they lost to top-ranked Clemson by 3. So 3 losses by a total of 13 points. And Auburn actually turned out, funny looking back now. Auburn was probably the least impressive loss. If any loss can be impressive, it was probably the worst loss, I guess you could say, as Auburn turned out to be a bit of a paper tiger this year. But Houston, with first-year coach Tom Herman, who really did a lot at Ohio State, and he's proving that he could do a lot at the not just as an offensive coordinator but as a head coach. Houston, that loss may have looked bad at first, but they're ranked and undefeated right now, so I think that loss is not nearly as bad as initially as one would have thought initially. And I saw that Clemson game, and Clemson is a highly talented team, and I think in terms of talent, Clemson and Florida State are very, very close to each other. They've both been recruiting a lot of 4- and 5-star players, skilled players. Clemson has really beefed up their offensive line, their linemen. So Clemson is a very talented team, and it showed against Louisville. But Louisville hung in there and gave them a really good game. And now they're coming around on a 2-game win streak. Their quarterback, Lamar Jackson, I was at that game against Auburn, actually, at the Falcon Stadium, the Georgia Dome, and I was really impressed with what that kid could do. So I think he'll cause a lot of issues. The game is at Doak in Tallahassee. I really think, it's been pretty much the theme of the season is that, Dalvin Cook, when it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. When will Dalvin Cook take over the game and, basically carry the Seminoles on its back to victory? There was a game this year, I didn't watch it, but I read, an article that he had to leave a game early, and I think he was a little bruised up. So if that happens, especially early on, I think that Florida State might be in a lot of trouble. But if Cook stays healthy and finishes out the game, I think that they'll win. I don't think that it'll be a blowout, but I think that they'll win pretty convincingly if Cook stays healthy. That said, if he is banged up and he has to, limit his playing time, Louisville might make it difficult for them, because they have they're coming off of a 2-game win streak. Three losses. Yeah, that's not a good way to start the season, but I think that they're turning it around, and they have a very, very talented freshman quarterback in Lamar Jackson. I was really, really impressed with his instincts and his athleticism. So that'll be a really interesting game. I think that like I said, depending on certain factors, I would not be too comfortable if I were a Florida State fan about that game. I think that Louisville will make it interesting. I think Louisville will make it interesting. So, another matchup we have that, would generally be a marquee matchup, but USC has, a lot of issues right now, clearly. I'm sure, everyone is aware of them, but USC is going to play Notre Dame. That's, classic rivalry, and I think, it's really hard to say. There's just so many variables. USC looked terrible against Washington last Thursday. I watched that game, and Obviously, there's a lot of factors why, but I think that with Clay Helton, he might be able to really kind of there's a lot of talent on that team. That's a very talented USC team. So really, it's not by lack of talent. They just were not on the same page at all that game. And Notre Dame is coming off of a win against Navy. It's well documented that Notre Dame has struggled the week after they played Navy, or the game after they played Navy. I think that since 2006 or 2007, they're only 2-6. So with the amount of talent that USC has, I think that Helton will get them ready, and I think that I wouldn't be shocked if USC pulled it off. I know that they looked really, really bad against Washington last week, but I think that they're going to just similar to how Ed Orgeron a few years ago as an interim coach really got those kids fired up. I think that Helton will do something similar, and I think that he might not be able to lead them to a Pac-12 championship, but I think he'll do enough to lead them to win games like this. And so I wouldn't I can't there's too many factors to make have a real solid prediction, but I would say this, that I wouldn't be shocked if USC beat Notre Dame this weekend. And then another game worth watching is the Penn State Ohio State game at 8 o'clock. Ohio State, number 1 in the country, defending national champions. Penn State Ohio State is also another fierce rivalry game, and Penn State they lost. They're 5-1. Ohio State's 6-0. They've been struggling a bit. I think that they, as I mentioned earlier, Tom Herman left as their offensive coordinator and is now at Houston. So it's a bit of a rebuild, even though they have a lot of the same talent there. Their offensive system is being rebuilt, and I think that has really led to a lot of their struggles earlier, thus far. They're well-documented struggles. And, Penn State, 5-1, lost 27-10, I think. I know they lost to Temple, and it was a pretty resounding loss. But Temple's, I think, 5-0 right now. And so, not a great loss, but not as bad as it seemed at first either. So I think that Penn State has turned it around, winning 5 straight. That loss, while a bad one, was not nearly as bad as it seemed. I still think that Ohio State is going to win, but I think that it'll be, if Ohio State comes out like they have been the past few weeks, they could be in a lot of trouble. But I think that a night game at the Horseshoe, a night game in Columbus. I think that they're beginning to turn it around a bit. They're beginning to learn how to deal with the ebbs and flows of there's 2 quarterback system, and I think they're going to start coming together and looking like the Ohio State that a lot of people predicted they were going to look like this year. So this is going to be a big game for them. We're going to really see if Ohio State is going to come together and live up to the hype that has been given to them all year round. So I'm looking forward to tuning in and checking some of that game out. And finally, is another low-key matchup. It's probably, if you don't really care about the SEC, probably this is not really that interesting to you. But at 7:30, Missouri is going to be playing Georgia. They're both 4-2 right now, unranked. Missouri is 1-2 with losses to Kentucky and Florida, and Georgia is 2-2 in the SEC with losses to Tennessee and Alabama. And if you're a fan of Kentucky, Florida, or Tennessee, this game would be of interest to you because, I mean, basically, I think whoever loses this game will be out of the SEC East race, and whoever wins will still be in it. Both of them are not in really good position, but I think both are coming off of tough losses. So, I mean, I don't know. I think it depends on who's starting for Missouri. I think. I mean, the kid Locke has a lot of potential, but he's very inexperienced. And Matty Mock has been really kind of hot and cold his whole career. So, I really don't know. I think on paper, Georgia should win. Georgia, I think, has more talent, and I think that Missouri is rebuilding this year. So. On paper, Georgia should win, but Georgia is I don't know. Georgia's with Nick Chubb being injured and just kind of the way that they've been playing in general, I wouldn't count Missouri out. So I really don't know. I can't even I'm so unsure about this game. I wouldn't even make a prediction, but it'll be interesting if you're like I said, if you're a fan of Florida, Tennessee, or Kentucky. I think Vandy and South Carolina are just too far out right now to really even be considered for the SEC East title. So now it's time to look at the marquee matchups. Actually, before I go into that, I forgot there's one more game of interest. It's not a marquee matchup now. Is at 10:30, Oregon and Washington. I mean, another fierce rivalry game. Oregon is obviously struggling. 3-3, just coming off of a loss to Washington State, and Washington coming off of a big win, big Thursday night win, nationally televised win over formerly ranked USC. With the way, I think Chris Peterson has proved that he is a program builder. I mean, I know, Boise doesn't play in the toughest division, but Boise, while he was there, played, several big bowl games that they won. Most notably against Oklahoma, but I know a lot of people always try to discredit whenever a non-Power 5 team beats the Power 5 team in a bowl game that isn't a national championship by saying that was their national championship, and that team didn't show up because they didn't really care about the game. I don't really buy that. I think that teams should always show up and play for pride. But Boise, in addition to those big bowl wins, they've also beaten teams. Oregon a few years ago with the LeGarrette blunt punch, and I remember they beat Georgia, opening week, I think, several years back. So these were years where the teams competing really cared about the game, and Boise still showed up for the win. And it wasn't just kind of a flash in the pan one-time thing. Boise's kind of had their ebbs and flows under Peterson. So he's done some amazing things, and I think he's an excellent coach. And I think that he's going to make Washington a tough program again. I mean, a lot of people may forget that they were a national powerhouse in the early '90s. But with that said, I think that Oregon is struggling a lot. I think Adams has been hurt, so Washington's on kind of picking up momentum. They've lost a lot. They've lost this series about I'm thinking 9, 10, 11 games in a row. So they've lost this game so many times the past few years. Oregon has built up quite a win streak, and I think Washington, the game is in Seattle. I think Washington's going to break the streak this year. Oregon is really, really down. Washington may be on the come up. So it'll be an interesting game. It'll be a good game to watch if if you're still up after all the other games. But I've been going on here for a bit and haven't even gotten to the marquee matchups, or what I consider to be marquee matchups. We got two of them at 3:30. Number 10 Alabama, 5-1, are going to Kyle Field, play an undefeated A&M. John Chavis this is his first season as A&M's defensive coordinator. I haven't seen too much of A&M, but it seems like that their defense has improved. Alabama, I saw a bit of the Ole Miss game, and I haven't really been able to watch them as much this year as I would like, but I'm definitely going to keep a close eye on them this weekend. In terms of a prediction, it's always hard to predict against, Nick Saban's Alabama, anytime. So I'm leaning towards Alabama to win, but it's gonna be really interesting. We're gonna really see how much Texas A&M's defense has progressed. I think this game will be the real true test of how good they've really gotten. I know Coker has kind of had a bit of a rocky start, but I think he's going to I think he's been progressing a bit, and I think Alabama. It's going to be a fun matchup. I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I haven't been fortunate enough to watch either team as much as I had the previous years, so I'm kind of grasping at straws a bit, trying to figure out who I think would probably win. But like I said, Nick Saban, Alabama, is usually a safe bet. So I think Bama's going to win this game. So then also at 3:30 we have Michigan State, number 7, going to the Big House to play Michigan, and they've been pretty dominant the past couple of years. But this year, this could be some, Michigan State. They're 6-0, and they had a win over Oregon. But unlike some of the losses that I mentioned previously, for some of the other teams that I've discussed, that victory is not as impressive as it seemed when it happened. And Michigan right now, Harbaugh, what a miracle worker. He really has done a tremendous job. That loss to Utah, is not as bad as it initially looked like earlier in the season. Obviously, Utah rolling right now as well. In Michigan right now, three straight shutouts, and have given up only 14 points in the last 5 games. Haven't given up more than a touchdown since the opening game in Utah. So, I've seen a few of Michigan's games, and I've seen a little bit of Michigan State-Oregon game, and I've tuned into some of the close calls Michigan State has had against Purdue, and I think they had another one recently. I can't recall exactly who it was against, but my gut is telling me that this year, Harbaugh, he's an animal. Michigan's on a mission. They are just shutting teams down. Michigan State has looked a bit shaky. It's at the Big House. I think it's going to be a resounding Michigan victory. I would be surprised I wouldn't be surprised if Michigan State keeps it close. I wouldn't go that far and say, but I would be surprised if they won, if they walked out of Ann Arbor with a victory. I just don't see it happening. So I'd be really surprised if they do pull it off. Not to take anything away from Michigan State, D'Antonio, great coach, great program, but based on what I've seen thus far this year from both teams, and what I've just been following, and it just doesn't seem to me that I think even Vegas has Michigan as a favorite. So I'm not 100% sure about that, but I think that Michigan is the favorite in that game. So there's that. And then finally, been a long video. Like I said, there's been so many games this week, but at 7 o'clock we have number 8 Florida, 6-0 going into Death Valley, play the LSU Tigers, and there's been a lot of controversy. Florida's quarterback Will Greer being suspended for a year, calendar year, and that'll definitely have an impact on the game, no question about it. But I think that before that incident happened, the factor that I thought was the most pertinent was can Florida stop Leonard Fournette? I mean, that's pretty much what this game was going to come down to, regardless of who was under center for Florida. Florida's linebacker core. Florida has a very good defensive line and a very good cornerbacks, but the linebackers, they're a bit thin there. They have had some injuries. Alex Anzalone, I think he's still out, and for some reason, Will Muschamp just kind of wasn't able to get a lot of, he didn't recruit the linebackers at Florida particularly well while he was there, and that's probably like the one weakness of that very, very stout defense. So one of the main weaknesses is that very stout defense. So last year I know Fournette ran for what, I think 150 something yards, or he was able to, as a true freshman, run on that tough Gator defense in the swamp last year. So he's getting better. It'll be interesting to see can Florida slow him down, and I think that's the key to the matchup. I mean, I don't really know if they can. I think that their quarterback situation for this game should be fine. I don't think that Will Greer, that last drive against Tennessee and the game against Ole Miss, he was very sharp. But besides that, he's been efficient, but a bit pedestrian. He hasn't really, been, the reason why Florida is 6-0 right now, outside of, like I said, that last drive against Tennessee, has really rested on their defense. Their offense has been, solid, big improvement over what it's been in the past, but it's definitely not been the main factor of why they are sitting at 6-0 right now. So I don't think, and Treon Harris, he has, I think he's 4-2 as a starter. He played very well. I mean, he beat, his first, playing time last year, was, late in the fourth quarter, or, at Tennessee down by 9, and he was able to play well enough as a true freshman to lead the Gators back to a 10-9 victory over Tennessee. His 2 losses were against, South Carolina, which was, they were winning that game, and ultimately that loss was a product of special teams blunders, and very tough game at Doak last year in the Governor's Cup. And that was a pretty competitive matchup too, and I think in fact they had a pretty substantial lead built up, and I think it might have been Tevin Westbrook. Harris passed it to him, and it deflected right off of his hands into a Florida State defender's grasp, and he ran it back for a touchdown, and that kind of changed the complexion of that game. So really nothing. He wasn't spectacular by any stretch of the imagination, but he was. That offensive system last year in Gainesville was a train wreck, and he wasn't really coached. He didn't really have a chance to get developed, and he didn't have the same tutelage as he's getting this year from Jim McElwain. So with that said, I don't really know. The quarterback competition between the two was very close at the beginning of the year. I think that, but I think that ultimately, there's definitely going to be a shift in philosophy, but and strategy. But I don't think that in terms of ability, there's going to be too much of a drop off. I think that as long as Treon Harris isn't reckless with the ball, doesn't commit too many turnovers. I think that there shouldn't be too much more of a increase or a decrease in their quarterback, their offensive ability and their ability to move the ball. I think that one thing that I've been really impressed with Florida this year isn't so much what the guy with the ball is doing, but what the guy without the ball has been doing. I mean, you look at that Antonio Callaway touchdown against Tennessee to seal the deal. I think it was Powell. I think Brandon Powell made a crucial block, and then against Ole Miss, I think it was at the end of the half to go up 25-0. Kelvin Taylor really sealed off the corner for, I think it was also Callaway who scored that touchdown, if I remember correctly, to at that half-ending march down the field to really kind of put the game out of hand against Ole Miss. A lot of the receivers and the like I said, like one thing I've really noticed watching them this year that has impressed me are what they're doing without the ball, and what they were doing before they get it. The catches that are being made. Last year the receivers were dropping easy passes, and now they're making tough catches. So I think that Harris should, Treon Harris should be okay. The key to that game, it's LSU in Death Valley at night. I think I read somewhere that like Les Miles is something ridiculous, like 44-4, and those types of. I don't know. Yeah, it's not an easy win for anyone. So I'm not really too convinced that with Will Greer or with Treon Harris, I don't think it would have really made much of a difference in terms of if Florida could go in there and win that game. I mean, the key will be can they stop Fournette, and if they can, they'll have a